hot lady.
Too hot, too hot. Oh, you know, because sometimes I do that.
Gotta run
pig.
for shelter.
That one got it.
Did that just completely
That got
peek
red.
out that? Yeah. Everybody's like, you logged in, everybody?
Yeah.
Oh,
Wake
God.
up.
I keep forgetting I gotta just start with a theme now because I don't do sponsor reads anymore. Is that a fiscally smart decision to not do pre-show sponsors? Because everybody who's listening hears an ad before the show starts.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, I mean, I listen to other podcasts. I know, crazy.
Yeah.
Just listen to this one.
How dare you?
Yeah.
They don't do them right
They
at
don't?
the beginning.
Okay. I guess I won't.
What?
We're making so much money as it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right.
No, I do the pre-recorded ones that are by the network. But anyway.
Yeah.
Well, the surprises keep on coming, everybody. Just when you thought we were all predictable and back to normal, insanity ensues, like me actually saying the following words. Ben O'Connor has a strong chance to win the Vuelta. Long way from whining on Tour de France Unchained. We have even more than that in store for you here on the longest lasting cycling podcast on the internet. Welcome to the Packfiller Cycling Podcast. As usual, we are live in the Rim Break Bar, and you can play along on YouTube as well as our home at packfiller.com. I am Pat Bulger, and just like a proper stage race, we like to introduce the members of the show with a classic prologue. Sure, it never means much overall, but it gives you an idea who's here and who's up for the task. Tonight's prologue, provided thanks to our friends at Muck-Off. There's a sponsorship insert. See how I did that?
Nice.
If I wouldn't have said anything, nobody would have noticed. 30 years keeping your bike sparkling and in working gear. Huge sale underway right now at muckoff.com. I think it's like up to 30% off of your orders, so that's huge. Gentlemen, the question for tonight, who is a musical artist that you feel has never been given the credit they deserve? Like, undeserved fame. Like, wow, people are making a big deal out of Oasis getting back together.
I saw it on 2 news reports.
It's all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah. It won't last. Those
No.
guys hate each other. It's like the Kinks.
They just need money.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Wow, the theme's over already. So we'll explain on this one later when I introduce you. But he's got some sorrows to drown tonight, Mr. Paul Main.
Yeah.
How are you, man?
All right. All right.
Okay. All right. Who deserves more credit in their musical career, Paul?
Probably majority of the people aren't going to know. And
No, that's what I
even the
thought.
person that, once I say that, those who know probably won't agree. Her name is Laurie Anderson. And
Wasn't she the secretary on WKRP in Cincinnati? Married to Burt Reynolds?
Yeah, maybe.
That's Lonnie Anderson.
Lonnie.
Yeah. Laurie Anderson.
Laurie Anderson. She's very off the beaten path. She did a collaboration on one song with Peter Gabriel.
Oh.
But I stumbled across her back in, I think it was like 82 or 83. It was Mr. Heartbreak. It is the most outlandish album. I listened to that even in just the other day. I went and I thought, God, I just love her music. So
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Where's my fucking pen?
Lori,
I'm writing this down.
you may, she's on YouTube too. She's done a couple of live shows. Her shows were like wild. I mean, kind of very artsy.
You think of duet with Peter Gabriel, you immediately think of Kate Bush.
And you did. I think in the
one.
So album, they actually did one of, I don't know if she wrote it or they collaborated on the
okay.
song. Excellent Birds.
Yeah.
Long Words. Excellent Birds.
Yeah.
So she and him, I think that was recorded before on Mr. Heartbreak than
Okay.
that one. So, yeah.
Oh, very cool. Okay. There's listening. That's why I do these.
Uh-huh.
So the people at home or wherever you may be are suddenly going to Google Laurie Anderson and go, oh, wow, she's cool. Or,
the lyrics
oh, wow.
are crazy.
Really?
She's got some crazy ass lyrics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Next off, he's got some explaining to do, and we'll get to that later, Mr. Jackson Bulger.
Okay.
How are you, man?
Good? Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing well, thanks.
You're curious why you've got some explaining to do?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll get to you. I'll get to you, young man. You're in trouble.
All right. Yeah.
Who's
real
a
worried.
musical artist did you feel deserves more credit in their career?
I think I've always liked him, and I'm probably going to take yours. I think Matt Nathanson deserved a little bit more.
No, I wasn't going to say that, but I agree.
Yeah. He had one popular song, but there's a lot more.
Yeah. Come and Get Higher was probably his biggest hit, would you say?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There were a lot more that I enjoyed personally that I was surprised that didn't make like a radio kind of feel. But yeah, I like him.
He's fun in concert too.
Yeah.
Although your mom got mad last time because he wanted the audience to stay seated.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think in his later career that we're seeing now, I don't know if he really would have had if he would get a lot of fame, just because he doesn't really make the type of music that would be very popular nowadays. But
he's adult contemporary kind of now, that kind of a feel to it.
Yeah. And he also does like that more, sit and enjoy the music rather than like dance to the music.
Yeah.
So I feel like he was kind of moved past that, not his prime, but moved past like that prime.
Yeah.
Per se.
Well, he's probably afraid most of his audience would break a hip.
Well, anymore, yeah.
Yeah.
They are kind of older.
Me, I've got some work to do in the morning. I'm a teacher who has to teach tomorrow, and I'm pissed about it. Woe is me. I have to work. The rest of you are like, deal with it, shithead. I'm Pat Bulger, and my favorite band that doesn't seem to get the credit, and I've been a fan of these guys for about 5-6 years, and I'm late to the table, is Spoon.
Yeah.
I like their music a lot.
Yeah,
and I think they're out of Arizona, something like that. And I had tickets to their show last summer. They came here, and I had ticket to their show, and I wouldn't go. I was too embarrassed to go by myself. Is that sad?
You buy the ticket.
Yeah.
You pulled a Sam.
I totally pulled a Sam.
Mm-hmm.
I do that with a lot of concerts, especially if they're on a weeknight.
Yeah.
But I was like, God, I'm going to go, because my wife didn't want to go. She didn't really know the band very well, hence they don't get the credit. And so I was like, screw it. I'm going to buy a ticket, and I'm going to go, and I'm going to stand there. I'm going to lean against a post, and I'm going to hold a beer, and I'm going to look cool. And I chickened out so quickly. And it's just like, it would have been a huge crowd, and I would have looked stupid. I'd have been the creepy guy standing there singing all the songs by himself. I have a sad life, really, now that I think about him. Speaking of which, how's your cycling life, you guys?
It's been fine.
Yeah.
Fine?
Yeah, I rode Saturday. Sunday, tragedy struck. And lucky for Jack Broadhead finding that frame, I have another bike to ride, so I rode today.
You can make the announcement here. We're going to talk about it here a little bit more in depth, but yeah.
Yeah, so I stopped riding my BMC. It's getting towards the end of the season. Don't have to race. So I've been kind of riding that Cervelo, and I thought, I'm just going to break it down. I had it, as a Sunday, I was just going to burn and clean it up, and had it all broken down. And I look at the seat stay on the other side
of your old brake.
Yeah, from the old brake, and there was a crack. Don't know how it got there, but I do remember there's one time it fell over when I was careless when I got home, and it fell over and might have hit. There's a curb, kind of a curb when you go down into my place, and it might have did the same thing.
God.
So, so that I'm not going to get it repaired.
Yeah.
That's just not worth it. So, down it goes. A lot of races, a lot of miles on that bike.
Yep.
I love that. And
hold because I got you. I'm gonna put you on the spot here, sir. Jackson, how's your cycling life been? You went camping this weekend.
We did, yes. We went camping for most of the weekend.
Yeah.
For a portion of it.
What happened?
Well, we went. We've been really liking it this summer, and we went down to I guess close to a place in North Idaho. And we knew that Saturday wasn't really going to be the best, so we were kind of like, we'll play it by ear, see how it goes. We were kind of prepared to leave by Saturday. And Friday night comes, Friday afternoon comes at 3, and it is like cats and dogs were being gathered 2 by 2, and all animals. It was raining. The winds were like 20, 30 mile an hour winds.
It was really bad.
And we were sitting in our car, and we were looking outside, and we were like, this was supposed to be like 15 minutes, and it's turning into 2 hours. And we keep looking at the weather report, and it's updating that it's just going to stay this way. So it was about 6:30, and I went, all right, here's what we're going to do. And we packed up that whole campsite in like I'm not joking, 10 minutes. Like paddle boards we had to deflate. We had to deflate the mattress in our car, like all this stuff. Boom. Like you blinked your eyes and this stuff was gone. So we got out of there pretty quick. But I didn't ride on Thursday or Friday, but we came home on Friday. So I rode, I want to say Sunday. Yeah, Sunday and then Monday and Tuesday of last week. I'm just kind of at that point now where it's like, I know I'm not really going to do any racing or like race type efforts for a while. I did that Thursday night ride and I kind of proved what I needed to prove. So I'm like,
yeah,
I just am kind of going through it now. I ran yesterday and I feel like shit today.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, because that's what I was going to say. You've got some explaining to do. You broke the cardinal rule and you ran.
Yeah.
And you weren't even being chased.
No, my wife is really into running,
yeah.
and she's a runner. And I've said on this show specifically that I'm going to do it a little bit more in the off season. I think if I feel this way after 4 miles, which like that's a ways for just in general. If I feel this way after a run, that's not okay in my opinion, because I used to run all the time in soccer. And so I want to do that just for like strengthening purposes, like injury avoidance, stuff like that, just strengthen my legs in different ways. So I think I'm going to do that now.
Is it the muscle groups, do you think, or is it the impact?
I think it's both.
Yeah.
I think that when we don't do a lot of that pushing off motion.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. We went a block and a half and my calves were already like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
They were like shocked that it was even happening. So I think it is a little bit of the impact. But I also think it's just that motion. Our bodies are not used to that motion.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm the same way. I walk all day long, around the house, but my wife and I went for like a 5-mile walk and I was sore for 3 days. Mm-hmm. It's lunacy but why is it that if I do it, I don't get it, but it is like you're saying, a call to action. I did have a good ride on last Friday, a gravel ride. Sorry. It wasn't fast. It wasn't slow. It was kind of in between. It had zero agenda. I went out to the Palouse area and I found a gravel road and I knew where some kept attaching to it. So I just kind of kept going and I turned back when I felt like it. And I got, I think, 2.5 hours in, and it was great. It was really good. And I enjoyed that. And what I want to, before we even get into the kind of the meat and potatoes of the show, you guys, I always remember, especially when I ride with you guys seem to have a kind of a purpose, at least to your rides, at least during the season. Am I wrong in saying that? Because we've always had some, legitimate efforts. Are those intended, or are those just like, fuck you guys, I want to ride hard?
For me, it's whenever it happens. It happens on group rides. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have it like, okay, on this hill I'm going to.
It's not like 3x5 minute with 2 minutes in between or
That's
something
boring.
like that. It is.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, I always intend to go out on every single ride and at one point have a moment where I feel like my heart rate is above like a zone 2 effort. I don't really want to only ride in that.
Yeah. I have enjoyed, and this is probably not going to help me for next year, and I've enjoyed them so much I've actually come up with a term for them. I'm calling them PCP rides now, where we start with a proper coffee and finish with post, because those Paul and I did a couple of those this year, especially the last one where it was like 11 o'clock in the morning. You guys open?
Yeah.
Is the bar open? We need a post-ride beer. Those were so great, but I know you can't do that year round, or you will never get any faster, or I don't know, non-alcoholic. So, and it was just, are there any speaking of that, are you going to do more running then, Jackson?
Yeah, I think so. I this summer really realized how much I like just being outside, and I think that something that really does kind of bring on like, seasonal depression. We all get it.
Oh boy.
And so I think
I'm about to step into a basement 5 days a week.
I know.
Not this one.
Yeah. But I think that running does make outdoor exercise a lot more accessible, and I really want to do that. So I think I'm going to run, try and strengthen my body.
And there's always been that mentality, and I don't mean this mean to runners because it's not mean at all. I don't even know why I prefaced it that way, because you go out for an hour run, that's a legit run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You go out for an hour bike ride, if unless you're doing hard, unless you're doing really fast efforts. Yeah. And that's what I remember about running, especially when the weather gets colder and the days get shorter. You can go out and 45 minutes for a run. That's a pretty good run.
Yeah.
I mean, Jack's going to be texting the shit out of this in about 2 days.
You also see a lot of pros doing it, like current pros, like Lachlan Morton goes out. I know Evie Richards goes out. Like a lot of them go out. Wout runs. Like a lot of these pros run. So it's not abnormal to see that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I get the same way though. I get extreme muscle pain from a lot of it. My calves, my hamstrings, stuff like that. So what I'll do is, especially when the winter gets bad, we have a treadmill and I'll put that at an angle and I'll just do a 3.5-4 mile an hour walk at 8% or 10. And that kicks your ass. That's pretty good there that way. And Paul, your stair workout from hell.
Yeah, it's not really logistically a good spot, but I think I found a new one. So downtown Spokane off the river, and we walk our dog Flanders around the Centennial Trail. And I watched this older gentleman and his son, who was slightly overweight, was running from
We're sitting right here. The older gentleman's overweight, and the son?
No, the son's overweight.
Oh, then it's not us. Okay.
And he's like sprints down. I can see him coming at us, and it's like where the Division Bridge overpasses the river and stuff.
Oh, sure.
So that's the stopping point where the old shenanigans used to be. And then he stops, and his son's like, you could see he didn't want. I don't want to do this, Dad. And he's doing burpees.
Oh, God.
And then he jumps back up and he sprints down towards the next bridge that crosses a footbridge in the Centennial Trail to the Riverfront Park.
Oh, wow.
And meanwhile, it's like a family thing. And the kid's like, you can see him like, and he's like, come on, buddy. His arms are flailing, head's bobbing like a bobblehead, And he's just, I'm tired. He's doing that type of thing. But his wife and like, I think there's another younger son. And there's some steps up by the convention center, I'm thinking, and they're pretty tall.
Yeah. Oh, that kind of amphitheater there.
Yeah. Yep.
So, wow. Where Expo 74 was
and there's
launched.
another one by the new convention center. There's like these big block
things.
Are
there?
And they were like jumping on that. I'm thinking, there's my winter workout.
There you go. Yeah. And the good chance most of the meth heads are kind of like zombies in that time of year. They kind of freeze in place.
Yeah.
And they stay there until thaw.
Well, the Parks Department cleaned in the last year have kicked out all parks.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They
good. Allowed. Oh, wow. Okay, well, that's cool. I've already started my strength training. The room behind you, Jackson, I've actually cleared out and I put stuff down there. And I've decided that this is the last time I'm going to start strength training. Because I just, yes, number one, I'm in my 50s and you should do it all year round. For some reason, I never used to be afraid of falling down. But, now when you reach 50, everybody says, are you worried about falling down? Like, the fuck are you talking about? I'm not going to just random, like, but no, I'm joking about the falling down thing. But no, in some of my best cycling years, I did massive amounts of plyometrics, jumping up and like you're talking about, Paul, core stuff. Oh my God. I started back with some core workouts and I realized that is very, very pitiful. It's just like, oh my God, where I talk about Darebees, Darebees, their website, and I'll download some core workouts. And it's like beginners do 3 sets, intermediate do 4 sets, experts do 5 sets. I get through my first set, and I am audibly making whining sounds. Like, and I'm going, holy shit. These, you don't think of these muscles because when you're on the bike, you're just riding hard. You don't realize that these things are helping you propel the bike forward. Mm-hmm. And it's just, and then we also talk about muscle imbalances, like you were saying with running, it's stuff that we got to do. What's your priority for improvement in 2025? I hate to start thinking that way again, but do you guys?
You always think about
There's always next year.
Yeah.
So where do you want to grow in terms of strength or speed or stamina or whatever it might be?
I think as the summer's gone on, something I've really noticed is that my my long range power has gotten a lot better. And I would like to continue that on.
Like 5-minute power kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can do like a good a good FTP test now. I can do higher numbers like that.
Okay.
And I want to be able to kind of maintain a sprint at the same time, because I think if I were able to do both, I think that'd be a good asset. And then I don't know, as a Cat 3, you're starting to do more miles in races, and I think I'll probably do a little longer trainer rides maybe on the weekend. So like try and do a little bit more zone 2 so I have a base, and then I just build on the intensity during the weekdays. Just because like when we did that 90-mile road race, that was like a kick in the teeth, and it really showed me that I was like, I'm primed for an hour, or like an hour, maybe 2.
Yeah.
But once we hit that like 2+, maybe 3 range, dude, that's the end of it. So yeah. So long range stuff, and then just kind of maintaining the work that I've done late into the summer.
Paul, what you gonna do?
I think what I'll probably end up doing is make more of an effort, because 2 rides a week, sometimes only 1 a week, doesn't seem to cut it.
God, I know.
But and I've faced the fact that because of the nature of my job, even in the winter, I can't really leave the city limits, and I'm still, have to be on the ready till 4:30. So daylight's kind of killing. So one of the things I thought about doing is outside of doing the trainer in the wintertime also as rollers, and keep the rollers even through the good months. Just to get on there for a half hour after work, get on, do it, just half hour spin, 45 minutes, whatever. And just keep those legs rolling. I think that's it. I maybe like I talked about through the winter, doing a little more plyometric type stuff, stairs, but I do need to do more intensity to get my short-term recovery. That's where I have a problem in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
It's like in a crit, there's whether I make a move or I follow or bridge up, I'm like, man, hopefully nobody like accelerates for the next 2 minutes, because that's how long it's going to take me. And that's something we'll be working on, is recovery on that. So
you get up early in the morning, natural.
Mm-hmm.
What time do you wake up just on a regular day?
5:30.
5:30. Have you ever contemplated morning workouts again?
Well, the nature of my work doesn't really allow that so much. Maybe a little bit, technically I'm not supposed to be working till 7, but I might have a bunch of phone calls that I need to write down and schedule, that type of thing. I probably shouldn't be saying that because, but it's good to have that the whole time. And there is moments where I could probably take, like Gabriel Benjamin has like a couple of yoga stuff that I could do for 5-10 minutes. I'd take a break from it because I'm technically not on the clock.
Okay.
So,
but 7 is when you got to be technically
I'm on the clock till 4:30.
Okay. I have to be at work by 7:30, but since I've been coming back to school, I've had 2 days this week and stuff like that. I usually get up at 6 and I kind of get myself ready and out the door by 7, and I have to be at work by 7:30. And I'm slowly starting to train my brain. I tried this last year and it worked for a while, but then I let it drop. Is getting up earlier to the point where I actually get to the point where I'm waking up consistently at 5 every morning. That gives me a good solid, not an hour, because you get out of bed, you're groggy, you got to go to the bathroom in the morning, stuff like that. It's not like I'm going to get out of bed, immediately be downstairs working out or something like that. I'm figuring that gives me a 45-minute window, maybe a little bit more. And if I could find a way to do that, I just have such a hard time doing morning workouts. waking up, I'm yawning on the bike and stuff like that, and I'm just going, yeah. And if let's say I was doing a Zwift race or something like that, I'm not going to go downstairs and immediately hop on a bike and be flying out the gates. It's just not going to work. I'm not one of those people. I know there are people who do that, and I would love, by the way, you listening to this show or you guys listening to the show, what your secrets are to doing it. And some of you are going to tell me don't have a beer before you go to bed or something like that, and that's not going to happen. Or, get your stuff, get your everything ready to go, set your clothes out. That's such bullshit. I've set my clothes out and hit my alarm, slept in, and stepped over my clothes that I set out and went about my day. But then in the evenings, I'll come home at 5:30, and I'm too tired, and I want to hang out and talk to my wife. So that's it. What the fuck am I gonna do? What are you supposed to do? And I know that everybody's saying make a commitment, be a bike racer. It's God damn it. It just gets so difficult, and so I'm trying to figure it out. And I do you guys have do you do Jackson? You just come home and ride regardless.
Yeah, I
mean, you're really good about hopping on the trainer, even year round if you need to.
Yeah. I mean, I have set probably coming up on a year ago now. I just set myself a schedule, and I feel really, really, really guilty. If you talk to my wife, if I don't commit to one of those days, I have guilt to a point where I'm like, oh, I feel like I kind of have to do it now. And so guilt's a crazy tool.
Yeah,
I've come to find. But I mean, there are times like this time of year where I'm like, I'm going to get back into it. Sometimes I won't do a Monday, and then I'll just pick up my 3 days later in the week. I have to do 3 days. That's my deal. When
you say a schedule, do you like write out Monday I'm doing this, Tuesday I'm doing this, Wednesday I'm doing this, yada, yada, yada?
So like over this last year, what I've really done was, I didn't have a particular like Monday I'm going to do this type of workout, Tuesday, like all this stuff.
Or just Monday and Wednesday and Friday I'm on my bike.
Yeah, it was Monday, Wednesday, and then whatever day fits in.
Okay.
At the end. I kind of would go through Wahoo system and pick like specific workouts that I knew I wanted to.
I keep forgetting which one's the right
to hit. What I wanted to excel in the next season, and so that's kind of what I'm going to do because I found pretty good results through that way. But I think I'm going to include, like I mentioned before, other longer workouts with some base work. But it's just I constantly tell myself, and I hold myself to that. You have to do 3 days.
Yeah.
In the winter and when I don't want to go outside, you have to ride on Monday, you have to ride on the trainer on Wednesday, and then whatever day fits in after that.
Yeah. I mean, even to get into the point where I'm going to wake up at 5 o'clock, like today, I'm training my body to try and get into this is the routine, adjust my sleep schedule, go to bed, 9:30 or something like that, wake up at 5. And today I woke up at 5:30. I didn't make it to 5, but and then I didn't work out. I just went downstairs. I had myself a coffee, and I hung out. I got stuff ready for the day, worked on those types of things. And I don't know if that's going to, just my body getting used to sleeping until 5 every day and just waking up that way. Do you set an alarm, Paul? Or you just naturally wake up? You do.
Yeah. Probably 60% of the time I usually turn it off before I wake up.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Depends on how tired, workouts or how much alcohol I had the night before.
Well,
so,
absolutely. Yeah, exactly. So I'd love to know how people do it. And please let me know because I'm dying to know and it's making me crazy. Okay, let's shift gears. Well, let's get to our news. Brought to us by our friends at Untapped Maple, pure Vermont maple syrup at its core, and it's clean, sustainable energy is the result. Use our link at Packfiller Untapped.com. Untappedmaple.com. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, use our link and you can go there anyway. Hey, story number 1, the Vuelta continues to wow. As racing resumed around after the rest day, Ben O'Connor and his team enjoyed a fine day in Galicia to maintain a hold on the red leader's jersey after stage 10 on Tuesday, which was today. Australian retained a 3.53, 3 minutes and 53 second lead over second place Primož Roglič, despite a small burst from the Slovenian's team up the penultimate climb, with O'Connor never looking under pressure. I'm happy about this. Stage 10 of course went to Wout van Aert, taking his third stage. Yeah. And doing something amazing. Who had Ben O'Connor making a massive attack and dominating the stage to earn just under 4 minute overall lead? Who had that on their bingo card?
I don't think anyone.
Nobody. Yeah. Crickets. Was Primož Roglič and Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe to blame for said break, or who would you blame, if anyone?
I think several teams should have not allowed that. I mean, Visma Lisa Bike should have had put in a little effort there. Anybody with hope, UAE. It shouldn't have been all on Bora, although Roglič was in the yellow, so they had to be. But once you hit a certain, time limit, what do you get up over 5 minutes at one point?
It was over 6.
Yeah, 6.
Yeah.
Then
he finished over 6 ahead because then he got a 5 minute lead or something.
It'd be one thing, bring it down, work with them, get them to around 3, and let Burrow take over. Say, okay, that's management. Managing that, because I personally there's a lot. This is a tough parcours, and in the next couple of weeks. He will falter. I really believe he's going to falter. Whether he's got enough buffer, I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe he does. But I mean, there's plenty of teams that are. I mean, everybody else is all on that. How are they going to play it? I mean, you got Enric Mas. You have Landa. Roglič.
Top 10: O'Connor, Roglič, Carapaz third at 4:32. Mas, Landa, Lipowitz, Adam Yates now up to 7th overall at 5:30 back. Felix Gall, Carlos Rodriguez, and David Gaudu.
I mean, if they start looking at each other and saying, "No, you do it," he's got this thing won. I mean, the inner fighting, unless they work together a little bit, that's just chip away.
Yeah,
and the pressure will be on him because he's never been in this position before.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, what we got 10 of 21 stages left. So
yeah.
I mean, I haven't really been watching that much of it, but you don't really need to watch all of it if you have a phone and an Instagram account. Yeah. So I know everything that's pretty much going on. It's really interesting how the Vuelta right now is this race of kind of shocks in a way. Sepp Kuss did a very similar thing last year to win it. It's just one of those races where it's like somebody makes a big attack and then we see if they can hold on. And last year he did.
Yeah.
But I do agree, Paul. I don't know if I see Ben O'Connor being the type of rider that can constantly respond with all of the different types of riders that are around him. I mean, that's a pretty strong top 10. He's got to respond to all of them, especially the man bearing down his throat in second place. I mean, that's not an easy person to respond to. And I don't know what it is, but you race against a Slovenian and there is just some sort of attack that they have culturally built into them that is just an explosion.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how he responds. If he would win, I think that'd be great. I think that would be insane for that team.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Yeah.
But
with the irony of him leaving.
Exactly. Yeah. It'd be a great, swan song for him.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't trust him. Mm-hmm. To me, he's kind of what did I always say, that a Yates is going to blow it? Ben O'Connor is way worse than a Yates. I'm not keeping my hopes high.
It's and I will say that I've been impressed over the last 2 days or 3 days of Decathlon AG2R's riding. They've been riding like a team with a leader, and that's been impressive. How long they can sustain that is one thing. And I've seen cracks in the foundation of Primož Roglič. He's not riding in that incredibly dominating manner that we've seen him. Some of the big climbs are coming in where he usually suits his forte, and he's not driving the pace. He might have a sprint, but he's not the one who's really bringing that to the front. And was it Sunday's stage where O'Connor came by him to get a 4-second time bonus at the line with, for third place? It's these little things that I just sometimes wonder is this, and with these massive attacks and massive time gains, what we saw from Adam Yates was unbelievable. But now it's becoming almost standard fare in this race. Do we equate that to the fact that we've got such a long season behind us and the fatigue levels are kicking in and we've got people with so many different abilities to hold on? Or is that just emotion and I got to get something to make my team happy? I mean, what do we equate this to?
Well, I'm really seeing at this race, this is the only race of the year, in fact, where there's not that overarching presence of shit, there's Tade here or there's Jonas here. Like we can, like in this one, they can actually do that and not and get this gigantic time gap and reach the final climb and not think, oh my God, one of the world's best to ever do it is gonna catch me with a 6-minute gap. Like that's what I feel like the Tour and the Giro really turned into, is you can make an attack, but it doesn't matter on that final climb how much time you have, you're gonna get caught. With this, it's like you can go for miles, or I guess we're saying miles in our country. Yeah. You can go with 70 kilometers to go, and it doesn't matter because there's not a guy like that who can time trial up to you.
It's Paul. You got to.
Yeah, I think a lot of it too is I think everybody's, you mentioned at a high level. I think they are. I think the way racing is now, with training and focus and equipment, that people are kind of it's racing is completely different than it was even before COVID. There was kind of a tradition and this is what we do and we wait for this stage. And that's all thrown out of the books. And I think there's a lot of teams, the way their strategy is. It'll be interesting, and some of these teams already have like one stage they've been planning for quite some time to gain some major time. Sometimes it has to be thrown on the books if somebody like O'Connor's out there. But all any of these teams need to do is get O'Connor in trouble once, twice, and test his temperament. Because if it's anything like we saw in the Netflix thing, I mean the kid's going to explode. That's all there is to it. And so you have to use that. That's one of those weird things in cycling. You got to get under his skin and get him to start. He's wasting energies, just screaming and swearing, and because things aren't going his way.
Yeah.
So, I think probably in the next, almost every stage is climbing. It's crazy.
It's
so they just have to slowly be patient, whittle them down. You're not going to get that 345 or something?
353.
353.
Yeah.
You're not going to get that in a day. If they do, he's exploded.
Yeah, it's game over anyway. Yeah,
I think he's measuring himself too on effort. So you just have to grab 30 seconds here with time bonuses. 30 seconds. Pretty soon that pressure is getting more and more.
There's somebody in his ear constantly too. There's a race director and or sports psychologist in his head going, stay calm. You deserve this. And that leader's jersey does something to you. It changes to you. It builds that confidence. And Sunday, O'Connor himself was seen at the front, kind of chasing down some efforts on the flats, even. And so it's is that boost in confidence coming to bubbling to the surface? It'd be and you were saying the sport has changed. And speaking of how the sport has changed, this is a report from Cycling News talking about how Bahrain Victorious lost their main contender. Antonio Tiberi dropped out of the race on Sunday. He was 5 minutes down, which is not a huge from Ben O'Connor. It was basically had to do with heat stroke, dealing with temperatures over 100 degrees or 37 Celsius, becoming lightheaded with a higher body temperature, according to his team. We are seeing brutal conditions on a more regular basis over the past years, or am I wrong? I mean,
heat-wise, no.
It seems like it's getting much, much worse. And is cycling going to have to take into consideration the inevitable amount of climate change that's going on? and I'm not asking how. Actually, my next question will be how. But is there going to have to be some form of consideration when it comes to these types of things? When you got these extreme heats, it's always gotten hot. The Tour de France has always had triple-digit days, 100-degree Fahrenheit. Up in the 30s. But are they truly that worse? I'm not asking you to define climate change.
Well, I know they have a heat protocol. So I think it's 40 degrees. I don't know why they didn't play it then. 40 degrees, which is about 104 degrees, and that's a long time in the saddle.
Yeah.
These races are going off sometimes more in the heat of the day. They may have to make that adjustment or something. But that's when, over there in
that's
Europe.
Prime time. You want your audiences.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's TV. That's the people on the side of the road.
Exactly right. And a lot of the riders want a slow wake up. They don't want to just like, all right, ding, 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 ding,
Yeah.
Let's go, boys. So, I think they'll probably take some measures and stuff. But I remember a lot of times in the Tour in the 80s and the 70s, they had temperatures like that, and there was no protocol.
Yeah.
It is what it is. The tarmac would actually just stick to the tires. It was so melting, and they're climbing up those hills, and where there's no wind or anything. So
yeah, I think that cycling's one of those sports. I think that like any endurance sport is one of those things where it would be difficult to accommodate for it, like during the event. I was watching Serie A soccer, so Italian soccer, and they had halfway through each of the halves
water breaks.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
They have a water break.
Sorry.
No. It's, and in cycling, it's one of those things where it's like you can't stop halfway through and have a water break, because then I feel like it kind of ruins the quality of the race in a way. So I don't know on the how.
I mean, you'd have to shorten the stage.
Yeah.
Well, stages are shorter than they used to be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think bringing up like the temperature thing and breaks. So we already talked about how racing is at kilometer zero. It used to be not until the last hour and a half, and like 60, 70K, that's when the race really went on. So they were able to get water, and people were racing is changed where it's full gas. So that's kind of hard to, take those little breaks. I mean, the team would, all the teams would agree, P break or whatever, and it slow down so everyone can get water. Now it's just like, poof. And they're flying through like even feed zones now. So
yeah.
Well, and it's also one of those things. It's one of those sports where, in a way, I mean, I know you see on their top tube or their handlebars their whole nutrition strategy and everything.
Yeah.
But in a way, this is a sport where their fueling is heavily on them. They can't be pulled over to the sideline and told, hey, take this gel. You need to drink this whole bottle.
Sure.
They need, like, a good portion of it is them needing to work it for themselves.
And the other issue, thanks, Paul. The other issue also seems to be the sport itself. Here you think of and this is just going flat out into the face of the climate change. You think of cycling as such a environmentally friendly sport, and then from a gas-powered helicopter, you get the view of the entire caravan, and you see how many gas-burning cars are involved. I shouldn't be laughing about this, but it is just like, holy shit. I mean, the carbon footprint of the Tour de France has got to be through the roof. I mean, and you can't, the entire caravan, we're not at the point where they can all run EVs or something like that, and suddenly we've changed all this. I mean, how do you make cycling more carbon neutral?
At this point in time, you have to, I think, shortening the stages again.
Yeah.
That makes it a little more exciting. Then, not drastically, but, just find that slowly chip away as opposed to, okay, forget this, 160 kilometer.
Yeah. Transition stage or something. Yeah.
Oh, they're due 200, 300, those. Well, even the transfer from the rest day was 1,000 kilometers.
Yeah.
1,000-kilometer day. They got off the bikes and
Cars,
had to
trains,
go.
buses,
everything
planes.
has to,
yeah.
You have your soigneurs, the team buses. Everybody's just like,
Yeah.
So, you want to make your race interesting too, but nevertheless, I'm sure there's going to be somebody's going to figure it out.
And the world is the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't have the ability to be in a soccer field, where we can contain these things, unless
the nature of cycling leads to a lot of travel and getting a huge group of people, even those who put up hard fencing and
the publicity caravan.
Yeah,
it's just massive amounts.
Yeah.
It's a massive carbon footprint. So there we go. Yeah, that's cheerful. Speaking of carbon footprint, it is time for tonight's topic brought to us by our friends at NordVPN. Hey, you can tell me, you tired of Peacock's ads? You wish for the classic Euro coverage, but you can't find it? Well, grab yourself NordVPN account for a bargain and trick the internet into thinking you are somewhere other than the blocked off area that only allows you to watch crummy platforms. That is right. You can watch all the races. You can surf the internet in security, and you can keep your computer and identity safe. NordVPN, use our link, please, as it helps us keep in beer and chain wax. I want to take a moment and allow Paul to tell us the story of a week, even though we've already told it about the crack in the bike, and for us to make a toast to the BMC. May it rest in peace.
Thanks for all the years.
Yes. Now,
Got a little tear.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna play on that, and I hope you're okay with it.
Oh yeah,
but Paul, if you were to take the opportunity to write a eulogy for the BMC, how would it go? Let's imagine ourselves in the church. The BMC is in a crate behind you, and the silence comes to the audience.
Man, I wish I could have really wrote something.
I know, I threw you on the spot.
cuff.
I'm throwing you on the spot.
I just think, it served its purpose very well. I mean, in the rain, the snow, always there, reliable, taking blows, crashes, and even when I was foolish at times with it, carelessly, maybe not washing it as often but it held true. A couple of tough winds, blowing it over, eventually having to give way to a few cracks on the seat stays. Sad moment. Ooh. Repaired once, just couldn't do it again. It cried for like a horse. I had to saw it into chunks and put it into the bins.
Did you really cut it up?
I will be, yes.
Oh.
Yeah. With a mask. I have a respirator, so
yeah, okay.
Because that's a little.
You should get really intoxicated and just say this is the end of it.
I bought some Belgian beers for the moment. I'm not kidding you.
Yeah, that belongs.
Yeah.
You seen Office Space, the movie?
A long time ago.
It's like where I think
I was drunk when I watched it.
They go out in the field in the middle of nowhere and beat the hell out of a copier, photocopier. As we don't have a bike sponsor, wink, wink. What would be your next bike if you were to go shopping today?
No, already got a replacement.
Well, yeah. I mean the Cervelo, right?
Nope.
Wait.
Yeah.
What? No way.
So it wasn't even cut in half, and I found a replacement.
What?
Yeah. So here's the deal. So when I found that, I was like, I'm devastated, and my wife was gone, taking care of her dad and visiting her mom. And she came back. She's talking. She goes, "You seem down in the dumps." I said, "My bike." I had it all stripped down in our little. She calls it Stuba, and it's the outside area for our place.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not going to repair this. I can't do it. It's just only a matter of time. And she goes, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "I don't know. I just have to sit there and think about it." So Sunday, I went through. I looked. My options were, I'm not going to go to a brand new bike. Can't afford it. Just can't. We are so close to retiring. I'm not going to go buy a $10,000 bike.
Yeah.
I'm 61, and a half. and it's like, what, and the way technology goes, who knows what's next?
Yeah.
And I can't chase that anymore. And I have 5 sets of wheels, rim brake wheels. I have 2 complete groups and everything. And so I looked up Time, and they wanted about almost $3,300 for a new frame, rim brake frame. And that was like, that's might be the way to go. But then talking it over financially with my wife, and it's like, if I do that, I can't go to Belgium.
You know what? Yeah.
And I said, it's a bike. So I looked at other avenues, and I found its replacement. A 2016 BMC Team Machine SRL1.
Yeah.
01. It is, not only is it's identical. So all my parts are just going to be transferred over to it.
Bare frame. Where'd you find it?
I just went, you just go crazy.
Yeah.
And it's called Upgrade Cycle. And it's coming tomorrow. It
Holy
came that fast.
shit.
It's out of Utah, this place. And it's people bring it, give their old bikes and stuff like that. They sell it. They just kind of use, and they put listed. I was sitting there. This has got to be, for the price.
Bullshit. Yeah.
It's out of Utah. Looked up the address, everything. Looked at all the spacing, all the specs to make sure they didn't flaw. They had pictures of it, and I'm like, God, that's when it comes in the box, I'm going to inspect it. Mm-hmm. But it is used, but it is a unique one. In 2016, they only made 80 of these particular ones.
What?
Because back with the BMC team, they decided to paint it red. Well, the engineers were working so hard to make the frame at 790 grams for the frame that they said, yeah, the team's going to paint it. They're freaking out. So this is hand finished. This is number 9 out of 80 of these.
Whoa. What?
And I'm going to race it, and I'll probably crash it and break it. But that's all they are. Collectibles
so it's
are
not,
collectibles.
It's not painted. It's clear coat.
It's clear coated,
yeah.
But there's a little hand finish, so you don't really see all the fibers.
Sure.
It's murdered out. It's all black. The decals for BMC are black, but when you get it in the light, it stands out because
shit.
So
wow, that's crazy. I'm super excited to see it. So is it the same
I'm slightly aroused right now.
Fingers
On
crossed,
camera.
It's everything that I think it is.
Yeah. So is it same tube frame shaping and everything as your last one?
100%.
Wow, that's
100%.
crazy.
So I will not even notice other than the color change.
Yeah.
That's it. My seat post, my headset. It comes with a headset and a seat post, but I already have a backup. Mm-hmm. So on that model, without getting too boring, they were designed to be either electric or mechanical, and you had these on the bottom bracket. The guide, you had to have both of those.
Okay.
If you're going electronic, it's snapped in, so there's no it just closes it off, or you have a cable guide. This did not come in with any cable stuff, but I just took it off my old bike. The housing stops on the down tube, took that off. That one's all capped off, and
wow.
So I saved that derailleur hanger. I backed mine off, my old one.
Yeah.
So just in case something happens, I have that. So that was the best move for 1/3 of the price of a new frame.
My question asking, does this mean Paul Main is getting closer to a disc brake bike does not have to be asked.
No, not at all. Yeah.
He holds on. Yeah. The tradition stays alive. Oh my God. That is awesome. That's cool. Mm-hmm. That's, it's, and this is where I'm going to kind of take this, and I can't believe I'm going to use this analogy, but it's kind of like when you have a pet and the pet dies and you're just devastated, but then you go get a new pet, and, not to piss on the ashes of the old pet, but sometimes you just need that. You mentioned being bummed, emotionally bummed, dude, and this is for both of you guys. Would you guys say you've developed and this is I'm not talking about gross, have you developed a relationship with your bike? Do you consider your bike a possession more than a possession?
Yeah, I think that I'm
not talking JD Vance style here or anything like that. Like you're having sex with your bike.
Oh,
it's not his couch or something like that.
I don't know if I get the reference, but
okay,
anyways.
Good. I'm glad you don't.
But yeah, I think that it's something. What we do is a passion, and I think with that passion, you can't really have the passion if you don't have the mode to do said passion. So I think that I personally keep a lot of emotional attachment to this thing. And you care for it, you wipe it down, you do all these different things that you don't do to other things. My bike is a lot cleaner than my car. It's probably running a lot better than my car. Paul, you found out how well my car was running. So yeah, I have an emotional attachment to it.
Yeah.
Beyond probably a lot of other things and a lot of other people in my life, probably.
Well, but yeah, and Paul, you mentioned you're going to get some Belgian beers and stuff like that when you dismantle this bike.
Yeah.
Is that bullshit, or are you emotional about it to an extent?
Well, there's more levels than just a party type thing.
Yeah.
One, the decision I made because I want to go to Belgium and see it again. I think that's more important than having like the new bike, type of thing. And I planned on letting you schleps when we went to Belgium being coach, and I would ride Comfort Plus unless you wanted to buck up another $1,000. So that's gone away. So I'll be in the cattle section with you guys. So, financially it was one of those big things that, it hurt, but there's an attachment for me. I don't get this like attachment emotionally, but I've had a dozen race bikes since I've been doing this. And there is one particular bike that I loved, which was a Fuso. It was Dave Moulton Fuso.
Yeah.
And I still to this day, that bike just fit the way it was set up. It's set up exactly like my BMC. It just fit me like a glove. Mm-hmm. And then when I had to give it away, it had some repairs and stuff, and I raced on it for another year, but it was time to move on, and I moved it to different ones. And I enjoyed a lot of bikes, but when I got my BMC in 2012, it was like, wow. It was the most comfortable. I mean, it just fit me like the Fuso used to.
Yeah.
They don't ride exactly the same, but it nailed it. And so I had a little bit of delamination on my 2012 around the bottom bracket cups because they were just experimenting on that. And that's when I got a 2016. In fact, Sam worked at the bike shop when I got the warranty.
Wow.
It's a small world. So anyway, and then I right in with you, just like the last time, I was on that Cervelo, which is a fine bike. And it's dialed in. It's exactly, everything's exactly the same. Same wheels, everything, same Grupo, same, and there's a different feel to it. It's a little harsher, this Cervelo. Yeah. It's just not, I can feel it at the end of the ride, maybe because I'm 61 and not, 41 like when I got the Cervelo. So, the BMC. So, that's my attachment, and I think, I don't know, a good bike to me is one that you don't even feel underneath you. And there's a lot of times I've been on a lot of bikes. You do feel the bike, or its characteristics and stuff. Then you kind of have to fight it. Like I had a DeRosa, it was beautiful, but it was like driving a school bus in a crit. I had to get rid of it. I only had it like 6 months. It's like, forget this, and I sold it cheap too. I just I got to get it out of my.
Well, you had a Colnago Masterlight, which was one of my most favorite bikes in the world.
Yeah,
and you said it just.
Oh, that was a brick.
Get rid of it. Yeah.
The option was a carbon fiber fork, which probably would have dampened it, but straight chrome ollie.
Yeah.
Just in the Spokane streets. Mm-hmm. That's the only time my hands and wrist ever hurt was on that bike.
Yeah.
And it was like one of those, when I pulled up races and stuff, I was like, because it still had chrome forks, cool. Chrome dropouts, and everybody's, it's a Colnago. And I'm like, yeah. But the thing rode like crap. It's like having a really hot girlfriend. Everybody's like, you're so lucky. And then in bed, she's just like, oh my God. That's what it felt like. You guys want it? I don't want it. I didn't have it. Yeah.
Jackson, you name your bikes.
Yeah.
And they always say, it's like if you're a cattle farmer, don't name the cattle.
Well, very different. Very, very different.
Well, you create an emotional attachment to it, though, is what I'm saying. So let's say your old Trek. Mm-hmm. If somebody were to come up and ask you for it today, would you just be, no problem. It's dead to me. Even though it has a name.
See, here's my idea, though. I don't know if I would say it's dead to me necessarily. I would say that it would have a better life out of this setting. You know,
Yeah.
right now it's sitting in my garage, not doing anything. It's not probably going to do a whole lot. But if somebody were to come up to me and say, hey, I want this track, I'd be like, yeah, go for it. Give it another lease on life, as long as you're not a homeless person leaving it out in the rain and selling it for drug money.
Yeah, because, you know,
Well,
if somebody says I'm going to turn it into a fixie.
Well, it depends on who comes.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think if you're going to turn it into a fixie and you actually are going to write it and not, you know, like I said, sell it for your drug money, I think I'd be willing to sell it. But then it's like, why are you selling it in the first place if you're going to be that picky? Yeah. But, you know.
I have an emotional attachment to my bikes. Yeah. Hence, there are 14 in the room behind us. Yeah. And I mean, it's obvious. I do. And when I was a kid, this podcast has made me realize just how many problems I have.
It's good therapy.
In terms of mental hangups. When I was a kid, I used to think my toys, almost like Woody and Buzz, you know, had this kind of not life but emotion to them, you know, and if I treated a toy like shit, my toy would be sad
and choke you out in the middle of the night.
Yeah. And, you know, I didn't want to be a Sid. I wanted to be an Andy. And I have since throughout my life sold bikes to people, and most of the time I'm cool with it. Like, we had our elephants built by Glenn Copus, master builder in this region, and they were beautiful cross bikes. And Jackson's got too small, and so we sold it to some people who their son was going to be a cross rider on it. And I took it out to the front yard, and the kid was whining about it when he saw it, because, you know, he was mad that there weren't disc brakes and stuff like that. And then I also sold 2 other bikes to another guy, you know, who helped, you know, the whole story about the pisser and stuff like that, paying for the bathroom down here. And that guy immediately started calling me and complaining about things after I'd sold him the bikes. You know, like, are you going to fix this or fix that? And I'm just like, going, fuck you, dude. I sold you the bikes. Actually, I didn't sell him the bikes. Jack, in essence, traded out stuff for the bikes. So I gave this guy $800 worth of bikes. And I feel guilty when I give a bike or sell a bike to people like that, because the bike is sad. The bike is driving away, looking at me, crying in the back window, going, why? You know, I sent that bike out to pasture, and somebody's going to shoot it. And I do that. I have always done that. Paul, you can't say that your car, when it got hurt to the point of destruction, wasn't an incredibly emotional moment.
It was an emotional moment because it is something that I wanted and worked for, and thought I was the luckiest guy in the world to find exactly what I wanted to find with lower miles than I ever thought. The thing was just pampered.
It was a fucking cool car.
Yeah, and I didn't have it more than a year. And it's like, are you kidding me? It's, you know, it wasn't like I had emotional attachment. It's just like, that shouldn't, you know, even if I didn't own it, somebody needed to take care of that thing, because it was the prior owner had it garaged and drove it average of 1,400 miles a year. You know,
but
that's crazy. I know.
But let's say if you got home from drive or your daily commute or whatever it was, when you're walking to the house, would you look back at it before you went?
Yeah, I would. Yep. I was still in the honeymoon.
That's the thing.
I was in the honeymoon situation there, and I got peed because somebody door dinged me at Super One. I wanted to make sure it wasn't you. So
no problem. I have a door ding on mine.
I tell you, don't talk to me when it.
The grocery store's my private time.
Holds a lighter next to the house.
Yeah.
You sure you didn't do it?
Yeah. And it's that. My dad said that to me once, and I don't know if it's original from him, but, you know, I'm sure it's not. But it's that while you're walking away from it, and you want to take a look back. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. And when I clean my bike and work on my bike and get something dialed in, I will admit that sometimes I'll just come down here to check on something, and I'll just look at the bike again. That's a part of that emotional attachment to it. It's not just something you own. it's something that's a part of you. It's something you're proud of.
Well, I have a little story on that.
Oh,
so my original BMC, I used to work building frames for a guy named Gary Sellner, Harry Gary bikes.
I have a Harry Gary still.
Yeah.
Would never get rid of it.
They're good bikes. It was fun building them. I learned a lot from him. But he actually built a bike for Bicycle Magazine to do a write-up on it. And the guy writing the article liked it so much that he wanted to keep the bike. And he traded a Durace group set and a set of American Classic wheels.
Oh, wow.
So Gary ended up using the parts on selling another Harry Gary, but the guy didn't want tubular wheels, and I said, I'll buy them from you, and he sold them to me for about $100.
Oh, God.
So I was in the middle of a race, and I could feel like the free hub was starting to go out on it. I'm like, what the hell? And I thought, I got to get a wheel change. And so by the time it was where I'd pedal and I'd get a little bit of, it would engage and then
it'd slip.
Yeah, it would slip in big time. So I got a wheel change, finished the race, and took it all apart and reached out to American Classic when they were still in business. And I said, can I get the parts for this hub? And they said, what wheel do you have? And I told them, and they're like, do you still have the front wheel? Yeah. Send them to us, and we'll give you a new set, brand new set, for less money than we sell them wholesale. I said, really?
Shit.
Yeah. Those hoops, the rims, were made from somebody else, and they were disintegrating. We want them off. Yeah.
Wow.
They're like
So,
bootleg.
Yeah. So you've seen my American Classics.
Yeah.
Those are from 2012. So when I got them, and my bike was black and red, and the labels on that are black, white, red. And I put it on, and I came indoor with my wife, and I said, you got to look at this. And she's like, and she's going, what? And I said, it's just these wheels. It's like, honey, when you really dress up and when we go out, and I'm like, wow, you're hot.
Yeah.
And she just looked at me, really? You compare me to a bike, and
compliment.
You don't think that way outside of, unless I really dress up? No.
That's not what I meant.
Yeah, I was in the dog
shit.
Yeah.
I'll sleep outside.
Yeah. Dumb. I just got overexcited about these new wheels.
Yeah.
So,
Jackson, do you do the look back?
Oh, every time I come in from my garage.
Yeah.
It's like, honestly, I hate that I broke my wheels. And Paul, it's crazy that you were even there for that moment in a way. But I remember breaking them. And then when Sam showed me the wheels that I was getting and he showed me the depth of the wheels, I was like, I'm okay that I broke these stupid wheels. Because now it's like, it's an aero frame with deep wheels. That's what I've always wanted. And it sounds funny, but when you open my garage door, actually no, not even when you open the garage door, because you know how most garages, they have the windows that are up high, so you can't see in, but you still get some sort of daylight. No matter the time of day, night, day, anytime, you walk by at a certain time or at like a certain angle, and the light flashes onto it. And it's like, oh, that's so cool. Yeah. Just like you get the shine of the carbon in the wheels, plus you see the color of the frame. It's like, oh, this is what I've always wanted. Yeah. Like I have that. Sam has been a huge help with that. But like, that thing's dialed in, and I always look at it and I'm like, damn, that's awesome.
Yeah. I will set my bike up on the trainer here. I will shortly, and it's in a room that when you're on the main floor of our house, you walk through this room to go upstairs. So at night, I will walk by my bike, and if I haven't ridden it in a while, I honestly will touch the handlebars and say something like, "I promise soon." This is welcome to my psychosis, but I will, because I'll think the bike's looking at me, going, "Well, you gonna fucking start hanging clothes on me now? Yeah, what am I, a Peloton?
Yeah,
Peloton.
Come on, man, quit this shit. Ride me." If put you in a situation, your house is on fire. Okay, everybody's safe. All the people are safe. All the important legal documents are safe. Even though it's all digital anymore, you don't have to worry about that shit anymore. But But you can only go back in safely to gather 3 things. Okay? So, my question is, number 1, would your bike be one of them? You can only save 3 things in your home. Would your bike be one of them?
I probably would make, if I have the time. And so that's 1.
Yeah.
And then I'd have to, the thing that would take a lot of time is amongst the sets of wheels do I want to take with me?
You want to have options,
Yeah.
especially if you're homeless.
Yeah. Exactly.
Got to get around, but
Yeah.
you need something sturdy.
Well, I need my crit wheels. I need TTs.
Jackson. Would your bike be one of them?
I'm thinking probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the other 2 for sure, but are we getting into that?
Sure.
Oh, I mean,
Jimmy's out. The cat's out. Your wife's
Yeah.
out.
yeah. I mean, I would. My wedding ring to me doesn't count because it doesn't come off unless I'm showering.
Yeah, it's fine.
So yeah. But I would probably grab my marriage license realistically.
Oh, okay.
And then I have the first ever teddy bear that I ever attached to, I still have. And so I would have to grab him as well.
I was wondering if that was going to be it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's I have to.
It's a no-brainer. Yeah. I would get my bike. Now the question is which one? I mean, I've got some classic bikes in there, but I probably wouldn't grab them. I would grab probably my road bike and probably my God, I'd be torn between the gravel bike and the mountain bike. Because the other thing I would get is there's this large photo of my wedding, Michelle and I, and it looks like a painting. It's framed. And I would definitely grab that because that's irreplaceable. You know, that's the only thing that can, that'll never be done again. But
I also think, personally, I think I'd grab my bike because it might be the most
expensive thing in the
that I
house.
own.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, my dad was when we brought home this Kelpie. My dad was like, "You're putting that thing on your homeowner's insurance, right?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, oh God, yeah." He said, "Well, you freaking better."
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, okay, yeah. So I'm gonna give everybody our address so they can come.
So when it catches fire, Dad, I was able to save my road bike and a gravel bike.
Yeah.
And a painting, but the Kelpie,
the
I'm
Kelpie
sorry,
didn't
had to go.
make it.
Yeah.
But it's insured.
Yeah.
So
don't
I got
worry
a new
about
one
it.
coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. With all the new stuff on it. That's so horrible. That is horrible. Do we got segments tonight, guys?
yeah.
Well, let's get to our segments brought to us by our friends, strangely enough, at the Pros Closet. We basically just did an ad against them. Find your next best
find one.
find your next best friend and ensure the last owner that you're worthy of shopping at the Pros Closet. You can find it there. Use our link. They do. They have a shit ton of bikes
there's
there.
tons of Treks and Specialized stuff. It's like, I'm not going down that road.
Yeah, but I mean, I remember looking. I found some Giants. I found, I think I found some BMCs.
Yeah.
You got to be particular in terms of what size you want, and with you especially because you have a model that you have in mind.
Yep.
That you're just like, oh, these measurements, these angles.
Yeah,
and
there's
stuff
some
like that.
BMCs I wouldn't buy.
Really?
So
yeah.
yeah.
Well, there you go. Not the gravel one, right?
Yeah, I would anything outside of a road bike I would never buy. So
You have a commuter.
yeah, that's about it. And I'd like to actually put that one up. It's a priority. I'd like to put that up to sell.
Really?
As soon as the BMC comes out. That's the one I should have waited for. But that was when I purchased my commuter
BMC's
bike.
commuter.
Yeah, it's called a 257. It's internal 8-speed. The one I have is 12-speed internal.
Oh,
But it's really decked out. It has too many
is
bosses.
it belt driven?
Belt driven.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a 12-1 pinion gearbox. If anybody knows, it's designed by Porsche.
Holy
And so it's just basically like, a car transmission with 12 speeds. It's a fine bike, but it has more options that I don't need for commuting.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
there you go.
Let's get to our changing time. Speaking of which, since since his mic is nice and warmed up,
Yeah.
with Paul Main. Well, we'll let the jingle finish, but then it's all you.
Yeah, I think what I was some of the interest, as my bike cracked, and I'm looking, and when I found that other BMC where all the parts to switch over, that's something I can do like within 4 hours, But the simplistic part of of cycling was quite of an appeal. It was very expensive from when I got into it, but mechanically they're pretty simple operation, and with a little bit of patience, you really can do your own. Back in my day, there was bottom brackets, although I'm glad we don't have that, but there was, primarily 2. There was 3 and 4 different thread pitches and stuff like that. You just had to get the right pitch, bottom bracket, the cranks, and you could really mix and match all your stuff. And you do, if you ride a lot, you start getting particular about your gear and what you like and what works and what doesn't. And the unfortunate thing, when I looked into, like my wife said about the time, so you think that would be your only cost is just that frame? I said, nope. I have to buy a new bottom bracket. I don't know. I mean, I think the bars will work in the stem. I'm sure that's going to work. But you start adding up. I got to buy a seat post. I'm not going to buy a cheap one,
Yeah.
And so next thing you know, I'm thinking I'm going to be up about $4,000 on this thing. And now I have, something that's 2016. People are like, well, that's an old bike. But everything's switched over. And the cables fit through, and I'm going to have that thing snap together without getting halfway through and going, God dang it, I got to buy a special this or a proprietary this or that. And I think that's an unfortunate thing. It's not going to change. And I have to say, bikes today are unbelievable. They're fun to ride, and I'll have to say, a lot better than what I started with.
And they're beautiful, too.
They are beautiful.
I mean, the lines of some of the proprietary stems and bars, just things like that, are just gorgeous.
But I have to wonder how far we've gone a little bit too far, and not to really, bash electronic shifting. It's not something that's really going to make me, because my focus is racing, I'm not going to lose a race because somebody's shift, like one, fraction of a second faster than me.
Yeah.
Those are the things that I just don't think it's worth me investing at this point in time. If I'm retired and feel like, this is kind of cool to have. Like the old guy driving a 911.
Yeah.
He's never going to use the Ultimate. He's got it all tricked out, and stuff. Maybe
or when
someday
that bike shop, that bike sponsor comes through for the podcast,
Sure.
We'll trade you straight across. I promise. Yeah.
So anyway, that's kind of unfortunate. There's a lot of your generation, Jackson, is probably not going to realize. It was an experience for me to really understand the bike when I don't have the money to go to the repair shop, and I can't spare a day, because you'd go in and like the big, like where I worked at before I worked there, I used to go to the shop all the time, two-wheel transit. You take your bike in, you wouldn't see it for 3 or 4 days, and it's like, no way, I got to learn how to work on this thing. But now, if you don't, you got to buy special tools, and that's, God, it's just, it's a killer, and it's an unfortunate thing.
You know what I was going to mention, and it is, I'm not intentionally doing a sponsor plug, but where's the button? But like Cycle Systems Academy is really cool because you can look at those videos and you can gain that knowledge base on how to do it. But you still do need an investment of the proper tools. You need the hydraulic fluid. You need all this kind of stuff, and that's a major investment once it comes down to it, just to work on your own bikes.
Yep.
Let alone if you want to work on it, in a shop or for other things like that. That'll eventually pay itself off. But it's big, and it's not the simplicity of what it used to be, where you could have some cone wrenches and get shit done. I still have some Park tools from the original 1980 style, headset tools that I know I'm never going to use again, but they're on the wall,
32 millimeter,
ready to go. Yeah, ready to go. But but now, if you want to, do headset work, you got a lot more stuff involved. And don't get me started if you want to cut carbon. Yeah, that's measure 300 times cut once. Plus don't you got to have a specific blade. You got to be ready for all these kinds of things. So there's a lot going on. No, I agree with you on that. That's a tough segment. But Jackson, I still have not changed your theme, and I gotta get to it. We are talking about the cool down with the one and only Jackson Bolger. What do you have for us today?
So lately, I've been, I will and always will be into the bike and riding and everything like that. But sometimes I find it really, really useful to dip my toe into different areas, do other things, because if I'm only riding the bike, I'll probably hate the bike within a year. And running the other day really kind of made me think about this a little bit. But this last year, I would say this last summer, my wife and I have really gotten into like camping and doing things like that. And I do kind of enjoy. I had a good time going on a run with my wife the other day. And so being into other things, I think is really important when you have a passion like the one we have. And so my question for you guys is, what outside of this, what keeps you sane and what keeps you coming back? So like, what are you guys into outside of this realm? Paul? I know
for me, it's travel. I like to travel.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing. And today is an example where I had my rotating day off and I got my ride in early. We woke up, gave Flanders his walk, and then I had my ride. I made it only about an hour and a half or so. And then we just hung out, walked around downtown, which you can just kind of absorb and people watch. Mm-hmm. Went and had lunch, went and grabbed coffee and sat and chat. All those things. Like it had the cooler. Today was a little bit cooler than it has been. And my wife and I have the tendency to travel in not prime time periods because it's cheaper to travel over in Europe. Mm-hmm. And so it's usually spring or fall that we usually go to those places, so that the sensation stuff. And that I said this is like the best day we've had downtown because there's so much construction. Yeah. You didn't see so many fentanyl fold people laying on the street. Yeah. And that type of thing. So it was, it was great. And so, traveling without a doubt is like the next step to cycling, and I'm looking forward. That's why I couldn't buy a time bike. Yeah, I'd rather travel.
Jackson, are you referring to other forms of exercise? Are you referring to just other things to?
I mean, all in all, if we're really breaking it down, like what we do is our hobby. Yeah. Would you agree? Would you guys agree? Yeah. And I don't think that we are the type of people that have one hobby necessarily. Oh, God, no. Yeah. So that's kind of what I mean. What you do outside of the bike that still makes you feel fulfilled.
Oh God, yeah. First of all, I wake up in the morning and roll over and look at my wife and ask her what she wants for dinner that night. Mm-hmm. I am obsessed with grocery shopping and cooking. And that's why I probably don't look at you, Paul, when I'm at the grocery store, because I'm focused. I got a fucking job to do, man. I gotta get this shit, and I gotta get the better one. And then the rude people always stop in front of me in front of the broccoli, and so I gotta deal with that asshole. Get off your speakerphone in public. That kind of shit. Yeah. No, that is a big deal for me. My wife and I work on our home and our yard and stuff like that, and I can come downstairs and tinker. I mean, I love wiring electronic componentry and getting the studio dialed in. I have a 3D printer now, which is a major addictive problem for me because you don't just push go and it automatically happens. Something goes wrong with the fucking thing, and the next thing you know, you're all over the place. And I'm sounding more and more like a science nerd as I'm defining this, but I enjoy doing that. I enjoy, creating things that, I have a speaker stand that's broken, and now I've figured out a way to make the repair for it with that printer. Mm-hmm. And so I'm using that, and this little stupid phone carrier, and stuff like that. Yeah. And so those are all kinds of things. I love to tinker. Yeah. I can tinker all day. And that's like, Paul, when you were mentioning you went down to, you were going to work on the BMC, you set aside about 4 hours. Mm-hmm. I come down here and I will turn on music and I can work on bikes and I will clean every bike in the basement and have the greatest day in the world if I know I'm not neglecting something else or heaven forbid someone else. I'm starting to realize, kind of like you, Jackson, that my wife can't. Her running days are behind her. She was a volleyball player and basketball player for years, and so her knees and shit like that don't work like that. But she and I can go for massive hikes and walks, and I realize how much kind of fun that is. Yeah. I piss and moan, And then I get out the door and I'm like, oh, well, shit, this isn't that bad.
Yeah.
It's kind of, Paul, you're talking about going out and walking around downtown
Yeah.
and doing that kind of stuff. So, yeah. And I miss skiing. I miss downhill skiing desperately. I'm the only one in my family who does it anymore. And I'm not blaming any of you guys, but I miss that. But I'm looking forward to cross country, maybe doing some of that. But I just don't want to invest in gear. I want to spend my money on cycling stuff, not on ski gear. Sorry. So that was a long answer.
That's exactly what I wanted. I mean,
Okay.
I think that we as racers tend to, for lack of a better term than the one I'm making up currently, we jobify this sport a little bit. I feel like we look at races and we go, we need to be the best. So what we do is we kind of like keep the pressure on ourselves. And I think that having things outside of the sport is super important. Just like having things outside of your job is super
Obsess would be a good word.
Yeah.
Instead of jobify.
Hyperfixate.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think it's important to have other things outside of it. And I was very interested to hear what other people are into as well.
Well, there was a moment there where CP and I we'd look forward to the end of the season of racing, and we'd go bird hunting.
Yeah.
And that was something that we did, I think maybe a decade
Really?
of doing that. Yeah.
I used to
it was
fly
fun.
fish when I was a kid, and I miss that too. My wife and I are going camping this weekend, and we're going to be along the banks of a river, and I'm like, God, I should dust off my fly gear and get a weekend license, and just wouldn't even need a license because I'm just going to be getting my fly caught in the trees. But
God knows you wouldn't be the only one doing it.
yeah, it's because those are the types of things, just little zen moments, especially this time of year when you want to stay fit, but you shouldn't stay 100% because then you burn out.
Yeah.
And
That's
nothing says zen than shooting a bird out of the sky.
Yeah,
exactly.
The peace and
Loud noises,
That
walking
shut
around
him
with a
up.
firearm on your
fucking
arm.
nailed him. Zen all the way.
yeah,
Oh,
exactly. Yeah. Oh,
You see that fucker drop?
it was a mother. Oh no. Oh God. Okay, you guys ready for it? Last question.
Sure.
With the outro, gentlemen. Who would be your favorite outsider to cheers for at this year's Worlds? Outsider, not your favorite. Person on the wings, on the cusp. Somebody you think could win. Whoever wants to go first. I will go first.
Yes.
I would love to see Julian Alaphilippe get a little
that'd be kinda cool.
middle finger
That
to Patrick Lefevre and go, I'm taking it to Tudor. I think that'd be a good one.
I think Matteo Jorgensen.
Oh, God, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like
An
right on
American
that
world
cusp.
champion.
Yeah, I would say that too, but I would also say Brandon McNulty.
Yeah.
That would be good. I think
Yeah.
it's time for another American to.
It would be unbelievable to see an American do
Yeah,
that.
I agree.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Been a long
has.
time. All right. Thanks, you guys. This brings us to the end of another Packfiller podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe. My teeth just whistled there, and I apologize to everybody in their earbuds. Like and subscribe as it truly helps us boost our power. Drop us a review on your favorite podcasting platform, and we will catch you next time. Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
Screw the Waples.
Yeah.
We don't need them.
Yeah.
Nah, we need
See?
you guys. We need you guys. This isn't going to say how it was.
No. It just drops.